Ever opened an Excel file and thought, what is even going on here? I've been there too. Most of us learn Excel on the fly, but there are a few simple habits that can make a huge difference in how clean, readable, and professional your spreadsheets look. In this video, I'll show you 7 practical tips that I've used over and over again to build professional spreadsheets that actually make sense to other people. These are the small changes that can seriously upgrade your workflow. Let's dive in. One formula to rule them all? Nope. Break it down with helper columns. So why shouldn't you try and cram everything into one super long formula? Firstly, good luck to you or anyone else trying to figure out what it's meant to do in the future. Secondly, breaking it down and creating helper columns will make it easier for you to not only debug in the future, but also clearly and easily see where there is a break or fault in the process. And finally, if you have helper columns, it also gives you extra data to play with if you need to create additional checks or summary information. So always break down complex formulas into several columns, though it doesn't mean that every single formula needs to have its own column. Be sensible and use good judgment here. But your Excel formula should never look like a thesis. I would also recommend using mapping tables. Mapping tables are a great way to standardize and also reduce the number of if statements you need to include. Don't hide your columns. If you have hidden columns, it can be quite hard to spot, and if others view your spreadsheet and are trying to debug it, it may make it harder for them to see. Also, it can make things confusing for yourself if you revisit a spreadsheet after a while. Instead, use grouping. All you need to do is select the columns you want to group, go to Data, and then click on the grouping button. Alternatively, if you select the columns again and hold Shift, Alt, and the right key, it would also group them. To ungroup, you can also hold Shift, Alt, and the left key, and it will ungroup. It looks a lot neater and it's easier to visually see. And don't hide your sheets either. If you plan to share your spreadsheets externally and you've hidden those sheets on purpose to hide sensitive information, you may forget to completely remove them before sending them out. Instead, either move them towards the end if you don't want them in the way, or just create a copy of the spreadsheet and then delete them after pasting any values if there are any dependent formulas. Your Excel tabs called, they want a makeover. Your Excel file shouldn't feel like a treasure hunt. Color coding your tabs instantly tells you what's what, inputs, outputs, settings, or reference sheets, so you and anyone else can navigate your spreadsheet at a glance. No more clicking through endless tabs to find what you need. Just follow the colors and work smarter, not harder. Pick a color scheme that works for you and keep to it. Consistency is key here. For example, green for a summary, purple for documentation, dark red for workings, orange for data inputs, yellow for setups and mappings, and light blue for outputs. Don't play guess the data. Imagine constantly not being sure what the content of a column actually refers to, or not being able to reference it using formulas. Don't do that. Always use meaningful headers for your data. Don't force users to remember what data a column was for by not freezing panes. If you have a long data set, you don't want to keep scrolling up and down to see or remember what that column of data refers to. Use freeze panes to make it easier when viewing your data sets. Pro tip, use the right freezing method depending on the type of data you're showing. All you need to do is select the cell you want to freeze the row above for, or column to the left. For example, if we want to freeze the tickers here, so I'm going to select cell A3, we go to View, Freeze Panes, and Freeze Panes. And as you can see, the ticker row is in place. Alternatively, say I want to also keep the ticker and the date column in place whilst I'm scrolling. So if I go to Freeze 2, so I'm going to select cell B3, and again, View, Freeze Panes, Freeze Panes. As you can see, the ticker stays in place. And if we scroll to the right, the date column also stays in place too. Want fewer errors and more clarity? Keep formulas and raw data in their own zones. Mixing raw data with formulas is a recipe for chaos. One accidental paste or dragging down of formulas and you've messed up. It also holds you back from making your spreadsheet scalable. It also makes it harder to debug, not just for you, but for others. I've even seen some cases where people have actually added formulas to specific cells that you would not be able to differentiate. No color coding or even special formatting. Keep your formulas and raw data separate. For example, either create a separate tab just dedicated to the raw data file and use formulas in another tab to reference it, or what I do, I paste the raw data typically after a set of columns I've reserved for formulas. The number of columns I leave is generally proportionate to the complexity and size of the data. So either AA or CA, but I also start with the A to make it easy to reference. I even color in those columns so I know they're different. Keeping them separate makes it a lot easier to update and refresh your datasets in the future. Stop reinventing the wheel. Keep your spreadsheets and tabs consistent. Your future self will thank you for it. Firstly, in terms of your sheets, if you keep a consistent design where rows start, where key columns are, naming conventions and headers, etc., it makes it easy for you when you want to create formulas or scale references to those datasets. For example, the use of an index match becomes easier, or the option to use indirect may also present itself. If you have 20 different sheets that contain portfolio analytics for each portfolio, and if they are in the same format, you can design one formula and just drag it down to reference all 20 sheets. Secondly, it will help speed up your development process and aid in debugging in the future. You could easily reuse tabs or information from other spreadsheets and drop them into your current one. But also, if there is an issue, it should make it easier to debug if you've kept a consistent design and process. And lastly, you're building a brand. If you're consistent in the spreadsheets that you generate and share externally within your organization, people will begin to recognize it and they'll become familiar with how to interpret your files and data. You want to get them to the point where your spreadsheets are the gold standard. Don't let your spreadsheets presentation drag you down. Make it look as sharp as your analysis. Datasets that look visually appealing will often be looked at in more depth and engaged with. It's more intuitive and interesting compared to a bland analysis. Secondly, if it looks good and professional, I've learned that it tends to command great respect and appreciation and gives the vibe that it's prepared by someone who knows what they're doing. This can often give you a leg up when you're starting out or are new at a place because no one knows you or your level of work. Obviously, it actually needs to have good content as well, but you're already ahead before they've even looked at the data. Now make sure you build on that momentum. Create visually appealing designs and color schemes. Don't stick with boring default colors or no colors at all. And find the right mix of colors you like and stick with it for consistency. Again, as part of building your brand. And also, just combine all the previous Excel tips we've gone through. You want to use headers, create dynamic formulas, and be consistent in your design and use helper columns. It will really make your spreadsheet stand out. These small tweaks to your spreadsheets really do add up. When you start using even a few of these tips in your spreadsheets, they won't just look better, but they'll work better, and you'll start thinking more like a pro. If you're just starting out in data or finance, this is exactly the kind of attention to detail that sets you apart. Every great analyst starts by learning the basics well, and you're already doing that by watching videos like this. So if you found this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe for more beginner-friendly tips, and drop a comment to let me know which one of these you'll start using today. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.